When did you come in contact with the darkest side of humanity? My ex-wife Liliana gave birth to the most beautiful baby boy I've ever met. Unfortunately, he died instantly because he was a stillbirth and he took Liliana's life in the process. I didn't even have time to grieve though, because all my focus went into taking care of my 4-year-old daughter Abby. It was because of her that for 12 years, I never even glanced at another woman. I just wanted to keep her world stable until the time of her 16th birthday when I met Veronica. She worked at the coffee shop near my office and always remembered my order. But most importantly, she always asked about Abby. Always got her little gifts like hair ties and lip gloss. She'd touch my arm when I talked about Liliana and say things like, "She sounds amazing. You both must miss her so much." Well, me and Abby had a strict no secrets policy, but I broke the rule for Veronica, or so I thought. I came home from a date one day when Abby started squealing. "When were you going to tell me you were seeing someone?" I didn't know what to say. 16 years of parenting and I still couldn't sneak a girlfriend past a teenager, but she just giggled, "Dad, you deserve someone who makes you smile like that again." Fast forward 6 months later, and Veronica moved in. The changes started small. She rearranged Liliana's spice rack because it was more efficient that way. She donated Liliana's apron to Goodwill while I was at work saying it had gotten moldy, but I just figured these were the growing pains of having a partner in my life again. Until one day when everything changed, Abby wasn't home, and I was cooking homemade carbonara using Liliana's recipe, the one Abby had grown up with and loved. I was just about to add the salt when suddenly Veronica took the recipe and threw it into the garbage disposal. "You need to stop living in the past. It's pathetic how you cling to a dead woman's recipes." Before I could respond, her hand struck my cheek. Slap. "You're lucky I'm willing to raise another woman's child. Most women wouldn't even look at you." So I hit her back and sent her flying across the room. Low LJK. I just nodded and went back to cooking. You see, ever since Veronica moved in, Abby was laughing a lot more. She constantly told me how much she loved her, how happy she was to have a mom again. And the last thing I wanted to do was make Abby go through another loss. But the more I put up with it, the bolder Veronica got. I caught her telling Abby that her real mother probably would have left anyway when she thought I couldn't hear. At family gatherings, she'd pull my sister aside and sigh about how difficult teenagers could be, especially ones dealing with grief. But through it all, Abby really did seem happy. I'd come home to find them dancing in the kitchen to Taylor Swift while cooking dinner together. They started their own inside jokes that I didn't understand and would burst out laughing at random moments. I could handle whatever Veronica threw at me if it meant Abby had stability. But in hindsight, I should have noticed that it happened too quickly to be real. Anyway, a few weeks later, we went to visit Miami. Normally, Abby would sleep until noon and complain about the hotel breakfast being over. But this time, there was something weird going on. At meals, Abby would pick at her food, and Veronica would nod approvingly. When I mentioned it, Veronica laughed and said, "Girl stuff, we're doing a little health kick together." I tried to pull her aside and ask if everything was okay, but every time she'd just push me away and say, "Leave me alone, Dad," before going back to keeping her streaks on Snapchat and ignoring me. I told myself that it was probably just her period, and it would go away soon. Well, 2 weeks after we got back, I came home from work early with Panda Express, Abby's favorite. I knocked on her door, and when she didn't answer, I walked in. What I saw made my knees buckle. My daughter looked like a skeleton. Her cheekbones jutted out, and her clothes hung off her frame. She was standing on a scale, crying. I dropped the food and ran to her. "Baby, what happened? What's going on?" She collapsed in my arms, and between sobs told me everything. Veronica had been telling Abby that Liliana would be disappointed in how she'd turned out, that she was an embarrassment to her mother's memory. I saw red, but first I needed to take care of my daughter. I carried her to the kitchen and made her favorite pasta. While she ate, I went through my phone, because I had an ace up my sleeve. I had been recording Veronica for months. Every slap, every insult, every threat. I had videos of her throwing away Liliana's things and screenshots of her draining our savings. I'd even installed a camera in the living room that caught her poisoning the goldfish, and I was going to make her regret how she treated Abby. Full story on channel, link below.